like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be trying something a little different.
Different. Okay.
Yeah, so we're diving deep into just a single opinion piece today.
Just one. Okay.
It's called Why All Women Deserve Global Respect, a Truth Men Need to Hear.
Interesting title.
Yeah. Now, before you think we're going on a rant here,
Right.
we're not here to debate whether we agree or disagree
Okay.
with the piece itself. Think of it more like we're dissecting it. We're going to be looking at,
Gotcha.
how is this argument structured? What makes it tick?
Yeah. Like even strongly opinionated pieces,
Wow.
like they can teach us a lot about how arguments are put together, the way they
Yeah.
use emotion, what it shows about what the author thinks.
Totally. So this piece starts out with a very bold statement.
Okay.
A world without women is meaningless.
I see.
And it goes on to emphasize how much we really owe to women as life givers, caregivers, the backbone of families and communities. So it kind of sets up this contrast with a male existence.
Yeah.
That without women would just be self-centered. What do you think about that framing?
Well, it definitely grabs your attention.
Yeah.
And strategically, I think it uses something a lot of people already believe in,
Mm-hmm.
about the role of women in society.
Right.
If you think about it, throughout history, different cultures, women are often the ones nurturing families, building communities, passing down knowledge.
Right, yeah.
So the author's starting with something a lot of people can relate to,
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then it goes on to highlight how women actually shape men from childhood.
Okay.
Talking about mothers, sisters, teachers, partners, all these female figures that teach us about love, empathy, how to be decent human beings.
Yeah, I see.
But don't men also influence each other?
Right.
Or is the author suggesting here
Yeah.
that women are somehow the only ones responsible for all the good in the world?
Well, I think the author is trying to emphasize the unique impact women have, especially in those early years when we're growing up.
Yeah.
Not to say that men don't play a role,
Right.
but the focus here is on this specific part of what women do.
Okay.
And, thinking about this, it makes me think about my own life.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the women who have shaped my values, my worldview.
Interesting.
It is interesting to think about how much those early influences stay with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Now, point number 3 is where things start to get really interesting to me.
Okay, what is it?
It talks about this concept of invisible labor.
Invisible labor, okay.
All the work that women do often behind the scenes that keeps families and society running.
Oh, right, yeah. This is an important point. And I think it's something we don't really talk about enough.
Yeah.
So the source gives us a bunch of examples.
Yeah.
Think about the mental load of, running a household. Yeah.
Juggling childcare, maybe even having a career on top of it all.
Right.
And, all this work, it's so important, but it often goes unnoticed,
Yeah.
undervalued, sometimes even taken for granted.
Totally.
And the author even points out
Right.
that Black women carry a much heavier burden,
Yeah.
showing how systemic inequality can make this invisible labor so much harder.
Yeah. So it's not just about acknowledging the work, but it's about understanding how race, gender,
Yeah.
societal structures all kind of come together
It's true.
to create these unique challenges.
Yeah.
This is getting deep.
Well, that's exactly what intersectionality means. Different forms of oppression can overlap and make things so much more complex.
Yeah.
So the author's saying we can't talk about respect for women without also thinking about these bigger systems.
Okay. So how does this all connect back to the main argument here?
Well, I think the author is building an argument for respect.
By pointing out all the things women do that we often overlook,
Yeah.
undervalued contributions. And by focusing on this this invisible labor,
Right.
they're showing us just how much society depends on women's work, even when nobody's really thanking them for it.
Right. That makes sense. So what's next in the author's list of reasons why women deserve respect?
Okay, so point number 4 brings up something that that might actually surprise you.
Oh, okay.
It says that historically, a lot of what men have achieved
Okay.
Their drive to succeed, build wealth, gain status.
Oh,
It
interesting.
was all fueled by this desire to impress women.
Whoa.
So now the question is this a cynical view of what motivates men?
Hmm.
Or is there actually some truth to it?
Wow. That's a really interesting take.
Yeah.
It's making me think about all those big gestures throughout history.
Right.
All the elaborate courtship rituals.
Exactly.
The displays of wealth and power.
Yeah.
Could it be that deep down a lot of it was just about trying to get a partner?
Well, the author seems to think so.
Yeah.
They're basically saying
Yeah.
that all these things we think of as male achievement, they actually come from this basic desire to attract a mate and, be able to provide for them.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can see how that fits into the bigger picture.
Yeah.
But what about the guys who are just like completely driven by ambition,
Yeah.
even if they're not interested in finding a partner?
Right.
I mean, is the author saying that their motivations don't matter?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to think about how this idea of motivation, how
Right.
it works in different places, different cultures.
Right.
Maybe the author isn't saying that every man
Right.
is only driven by a desire to impress women.
Okay.
But they're definitely asking some really thought-provoking questions here
Yeah.
about what drives us as people, especially now, in a world where these traditional gender roles are changing all the time.
It's true. Yeah. You've got me thinking now. I'm curious to see where the author takes this next.
Well, get ready for some powerful stories.
Okay.
Because the next section is all about the incredible resilience
Okay.
and achievements of Black women throughout history.
Let's dive in.
Yeah. Okay, welcome back. Before we jump into the next part,
Right.
let's recap a bit.
Okay.
What has the author said so far?
Okay.
So they've highlighted how important women are as life givers, caregivers.
Right.
Talked about their unique influence on how men develop
Mm-hmm.
and the often overlooked burden of all this invisible labor.
Yes. Yes. And we even got into that pretty deep discussion
Right.
about, whether men's historical drive to achieve things
Yeah.
might actually be rooted in a desire to impress women.
It's a lot to think about.
It's a lot.
But the author's not done yet. They then go on to celebrate the incredible strength and the accomplishments of Black women throughout history. Women who faced huge challenges,
Right.
often because of both their race and gender.
Yeah.
And yet, despite this, they've achieved amazing things.
I'm ready to hear more about this.
Yeah.
The source mentioned systemic oppression, but didn't really explain what that means.
Right. Well, it's a really important concept to understand.
Okay.
So systemic oppression refers to how discrimination is it's baked into the very structures of society.
Okay.
So that's laws, institutions, cultural norms.
Right.
And this leads to disadvantages for certain groups, right?
Oh.
So for Black women, it's not just about individual prejudice.
Yeah.
It's about how racism and sexism are they're woven together.
Right.
And built into these systems they have to deal with every day.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So how does the author connect this to the idea of Black women's achievement?
Well, they highlight how Black women have not only survived,
Right.
but actually thrived.
Okay.
Despite facing all these hurdles,
Wow.
the piece uses really powerful language.
Okay.
Extraordinary feats, indelible mark on history.
Powerful stuff.
And then it names some incredible examples.
Oh, like who?
Like Harriet Tubman,
Okay, yeah.
who risked her life over and over again to guide enslaved people to freedom on the Underground Railroad.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine the courage and resilience that took?
It's almost hard to even imagine.
Right.
And I remember the source also mentioned Katherine Johnson,
Oh, absolutely.
the NASA mathematician,
Right.
whose calculations were essential for sending those astronauts into space.
Yeah, she faced so much, both racism and sexism,
Right.
in a field totally dominated by white men.
Right.
And yet, her brilliance, it was crucial to the whole space program.
It's amazing.
And these are just two examples.
Right.
There are countless others. Black women have been leading social movements, breaking down barriers in STEM,
Wow.
excelling in the arts, changing politics for generations.
It's incredible. So by focusing on Black women's achievements in the face of this systemic oppression, the author is making their argument even stronger.
Exactly. They're highlighting not just the incredible contributions, but also their incredible strength and determination in a world that's often trying to hold them back.
Yeah. I'm noticing a pattern here. It seems like the author is really good at using specific examples to support the bigger point they're trying to make.
Absolutely. It's a really effective way to build an argument. You start with a general statement, then back it up with strong evidence with relatable examples.
Right, yeah. Okay, so we've talked about the achievements of Black women.
Yeah.
But does the source only focus on them?
Okay.
Or does it acknowledge the contributions of women from other backgrounds as well?
It does. It spends a good amount of time highlighting the resilience of Black women, but it also recognizes women from, all races and cultures.
Like, can you give me some examples?
Sure. So it mentions Marie Curie,
Okay.
the Polish scientist.
Right.
She made groundbreaking discoveries in radioactivity.
Yeah.
Totally dominated by men back then.
Right.
And it talks about Malala Yousafzai.
Oh, right, yeah.
The Pakistani activist who risked her life to advocate for girls' education.
It's amazing.
And she became the youngest Nobel Prize laureate ever.
Wow. So it's interesting how the author uses these examples to show that women's achievements aren't limited, by race or culture or where they're from.
Yeah.
It's a global thing.
Absolutely. It really reinforces this idea that women everywhere have been making a difference.
Yeah.
Often overcoming huge obstacles to do so.
Right. Okay, so the author has now built up this really strong case for why women deserve respect. But the title of the piece suggests that there's a problem, right?
Okay.
Like maybe men aren't giving women the respect they deserve.
You're definitely picking up on the underlying tension here.
Yeah.
While it celebrates women's accomplishments, it also acknowledges these struggles that women still face.
Okay.
In a world that's often stacked against them.
What kind of struggles is the author talking about?
Give me specifics. Well, it brings up a bunch of challenges that are still happening today, ongoing discrimination at work,
Right.
societal expectations that limit women's choices,
Yeah.
and yes, the much heavier burdens that often fall on Black women
Right.
because of systemic racism.
Yeah.
And it even suggests that just acknowledging these challenges is the first step toward actually making things more equitable.
It's a bit of a sobering reminder that
It is.
despite all the progress we've made, we still have a long way to go to get to real equality.
That's true. And the author doesn't shy away from that, but instead of just dwelling on the negative, they then go on to highlight some inspiring examples of women in leadership roles.
Oh, I love a good leadership story.
Yeah.
Who do they mention?
Well, they talk about some really prominent figures in politics.
Okay.
Like Kamala Harris, the first female vice president in the United States.
Right.
And Jacinda Ardern.
Okay.
The former Prime Minister of New Zealand, who really gained global recognition for her compassionate leadership.
Yeah. Those are some pretty big names.
They are.
And what about outside of the world of politics?
Well, they also point out pioneers in education.
Oh, okay.
Like Malala Yousafzai.
Oh, right. We talked about her earlier.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And Marva Collins, who was an American educator. She founded this incredible school in Chicago that really transformed the lives of underprivileged students.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's awesome how the author includes all these different fields.
Yeah.
We've got politics, education. I bet there's more, right?
You are right on track.
I knew it.
The piece then goes on to showcase women's achievements in science, technology, art, literature.
Oh, wow.
Emphasizing that women's talent and intellect, they have no limits.
I knew it.
Give me some details. Well, in the world of STEM, it talks about Ada Lovelace, who is considered to be the very first computer programmer.
Wow.
Whose work basically laid the foundation for all of modern computing.
Wow, that's incredible.
And of course, it mentions Katherine Johnson again.
Oh, right.
Reminding us of her amazing contributions to space exploration.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah.
It seems like the author is intentionally bringing up these examples again and again.
Right.
To really drive home the point about the achievements of Black women.
That's a really sharp observation.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop there.
Okay.
The piece also celebrates cultural icons like Toni Morrison.
Oh, wow.
The acclaimed novelist.
Yeah.
whose words captured the Black American experience with such incredible depth and beauty.
Yeah.
Frida Kahlo, the Mexican painter,
Yeah.
who was known for her surrealist self-portraits and her, explorations of identity.
Yeah.
And Maya Angelou,
Of course, yeah.
the American poet and activist,
Right.
whose words inspired so many people with their themes of resilience and hope.
Wow, that's quite a lineup.
It is.
It really shows just how much women have contributed
Yeah,
to shaping our world.
absolutely.
From groundbreaking science to artistic masterpieces that just move us to our core.
Exactly. And all this then leads to a really important turning point in the argument.
Oh, okay.
Where the author shifts gears a little bit and starts talking about the importance of respecting women's choices,
Right.
And their agency.
This is where things get really personal, don't they?
Yeah.
We're not just talking about achievements anymore.
Right.
It's about how, how society views women, the expectations that are placed on them.
You got it. The author is specifically calling for respecting women's choices.
Okay.
Whether they decide to focus on their careers,
Yeah.
or dedicate themselves to raising a family, or find a way to balance both. It's about recognizing that there's no one right path for women.
Yeah.
It's about individual autonomy, and this freedom to choose your own destiny.
Okay, yeah. I'm with you so far.
Okay.
But I have to admit, the next part of the argument makes me feel a little uncomfortable.
Oh. What is it?
Well, the author talks about, men's responsibility to protect women. And while I get the good intentions there,
Right.
doesn't that kind of reinforce these old gender roles?
Yeah. Like women are weak and they need men to protect them. Yeah. It feels a little outdated, don't you think? That's a valid point. And it's important to really understand what the author means here.
Right.
They're not talking about some kind of, damsel in distress situation.
Right.
What they're emphasizing is men's responsibility to actively fight against the systems and the behaviors that actually put women at risk.
So it's more about being an ally.
Yeah.
And challenging things like violence, discrimination, injustice.
Exactly. It's about men using their privilege, and their platform to create a safer and a more just world for women.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But how do you reconcile that with, the author's earlier points about women's strength and resilience?
Right.
It seems like there's a contradiction there.
I see your point. It is a delicate balance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
On one hand, we want to celebrate women's strength, their independence. But on the other hand, we have to admit that these systemic inequalities still exist.
Yeah.
And women often face, they face more risks, more challenges.
Yeah.
Just because they're women.
So it's not about denying women's agency.
Exactly.
But recognizing that true equality requires us to dismantle the systems that create these vulnerabilities in the first place.
Exactly. It's about both empowering women and creating a world where they don't need protection.
Right.
Because those systems of oppression, they're just gone.
Yeah, that's a future I can get behind.
Me too. And that actually brings us to the final section of this piece, where the author emphasizes the importance of love, support, and a genuine appreciation for everything women do.
Okay, yeah. I'm ready for a little positivity.
Right.
After all that heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Okay. So the author challenges this idea that ambition in a woman is a bad thing.
Okay.
They argue that we should celebrate women's leadership and see it as a strength, not a threat.
Right.
It's a call to move beyond all these outdated stereotypes.
Yeah.
And recognize the incredible value that women bring to the table in every single part of life.
It's like they're saying, hey, stop trying to put women in a box.
Right.
Let them shine, and let's all benefit from their brilliance.
You got it. And that message of empowerment is really at the heart of this whole piece.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From unpacking all these complicated concepts like invisible labor and systemic oppression,
right,
to exploring, how men can be better allies.
It's been quite a journey.
It has.
And we're not quite done yet.
Okay.
We still need to look at the author's final call to action.
Right.
And really think about what it all means for us, the listeners.
Okay, we'll be right back in a moment. To wrap up this deep dive,
yeah,
don't go anywhere. Okay, welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring this really powerful opinion piece about why women deserve respect.
Yeah, it's been pretty intense.
Yeah. We've analyzed the arguments, unpacked all these complex concepts like systemic oppression.
Right.
We even debated some of the more controversial points.
Yeah.
What really struck me is how the author, so skillfully blends these personal stories
Right.
with historical examples and social commentary to build their case.
It's true. It's not just like a dry list of reasons.
Right.
It's like a tapestry woven with all these stories, emotions that really make you feel it.
It really makes it resonate, yeah. It's like they're talking right to you,
Yeah.
pulling you into their perspective.
Totally.
And even if you don't agree with everything they say,
Right.
it definitely makes you think about, gender roles, societal expectations, what respect really means.
Absolutely. And that's what I think makes analyzing a piece like this so valuable.
Right.
It's not about finding the right answers.
Yeah.
It's about thinking more deeply.
Yeah.
Challenging our own beliefs, our own biases.
Okay, so before we wrap things up, let's talk about
Yeah.
the author's final call to action.
Okay.
So it's specifically aimed at men, urging them to think about the women who've shaped their lives.
Right.
And really commit to respecting them, uplifting them.
It's also about, encouraging men to stand up against injustice.
Right.
To support women's dreams, to remember that, without women, they wouldn't even exist.
Yeah.
It's a powerful reminder of how interconnected we are and the essential role women play in shaping our world.
It's like the author is saying, hey guys, take a moment
Right.
to appreciate all the incredible women in your lives.
Yeah.
And then step up and be better allies.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the incredible things women do and really working to make a world where they feel safe, valued,
Right.
empowered to reach their full potential.
So that brings us to the end of our deep dive.
Yeah.
But before we go, I want to hear from you, the listener. What really resonated with you?
Right.
What argument struck a chord?
Yeah.
Or maybe a point that you disagreed with?
And what other questions does this piece bring up for you? How does it connect to your own experiences and observations?
We're not here to tell you what to think.
Right.
We're here to encourage you to, think about these complex issues and form your own informed opinions.
Because ultimately, creating a more equitable and respectful world, it takes all of us talking, thinking critically, being willing to challenge the status quo.
Well, that's it for this deep dive into this single powerful perspective on why women deserve respect.
Yeah.
We hope you found it as insightful and thought-provoking as we did.
And remember, no matter what your own views are on the specific arguments, this piece really reminds us that women play these vital roles in every aspect of life.
Yeah.
From our personal lives to the global stage.
That's true.
Their contributions are essential.
Yeah.
Their voices need to be heard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And their stories are shaping the world we live in.
It's true. So keep those wheels turning. And as always, thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.